Lecture by Professor Piscean, Department of Astrological Studies, The Coming Aeon, Astrological Projections for 2026 to 2100. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to address you today on a matter of profound importance, the future of our world as gleaned from the celestial patterns as we stand here in 1985, wink wink, amidst the Cold War and technological infancy. The stars whisper of an era that will redefine humanity. My research, drawn from meticulous charting of planetary cycles, the precession of the equinoxes, and the great conjunctions, points to a period of unprecedented change from 2026 to 2060. Let us delve into these projections with the understanding that astrology is not fate, but a map of potentialities. The dawn of the Aquarian Age, 2026 to 2035. We are entering the early stages of the Age of Aquarius, a time associated with innovation, community, and upheaval. The pivotal alignments begin around 2026 when Pluto conjuncts Neptune in Aquarius, an event last seen in the 1390s. This signals a revolution in human consciousness and technology. 2026 to 2030, look for a great leap in communication. I foresee a global network akin to a nervous system where information flows instantly across borders. This will democratize knowledge, but also lead to societal fractures. Economically, a major shift away from fossil fuels will begin, driven by a crisis in the Middle East, perhaps a conflict involving Iran and Saudi Arabia. Climate change will become undeniable, with severe weather events prompting global action. 2031 to 2035, Uranus and Gemini will catalyze advances in artificial intelligence. Machines will begin to think, learn, and even create art, raising ethical dilemmas. In medicine, gene editing will become commonplace, eradicating hereditary diseases but sparking debates on designer children. Socially, traditional gender roles will blur and same-sex marriage will be widely accepted. Politically, the European Union will deepen, but nationalism will resurge in response. The Saturn-Pluto cycle and global order, 2036 to 2045. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Pisces around 2037 indicates a period of restructuring and spiritual crises. This will be a decade of hardening borders and soft power. 2036 to 2040, resource scarcity, particularly water, will lead to conflicts in Africa and Asia. India and China will emerge as superpowers, challenging American hegemony. Space exploration will revive with a permanent lunar base established by a consortium of nations. Astrologically, Jupiter in Sagittarius suggests a focus on exploration and philosophy, perhaps the discovery of exoplanets with signs of life. 2041 to 2045. Pluto's move into Aries will bring a fiery, assertive energy. We may see the rise of a charismatic leader in Russia or China seeking to reshape the world order. Terrorism will evolve into cyber warfare with attacks on digital infrastructure. Meanwhile, Venus in Taurus will foster a renaissance in the arts, with virtual reality becoming a dominant medium. The Neptune-Uranus convergence and human evolution, 2046 to 2060. As Neptune and Uranus converge in Cancer around 2048, humanity will grapple with issues of home, identity, and compassion. This period will be marked by both technological wonders and existential questions. 2046 to 2050. With Saturn in Libra, there will be a push for global governance. A world council may form to address climate change, leading to controversial policies like carbon rationing. Medical science will achieve significant life extension, raising issues of overpopulation. Economically, automation will cause widespread unemployment, necessitating a universal basic income. 2051 to 2060. The final decade of this period will be defined by the great mutation of Jupiter and Saturn into air signs, solidifying the Aquarian influence. We will see the first human mission to Mars, likely by a private company. Back on Earth, sea level rise will displace millions, creating climate refugees. Spiritually, there will be a revival of interest in astrology and ancient wisdom as people seek meaning in a digitized world. By 2060, I predict a world where national identities are less rigid and a form of global citizenship emerges. In summary, The stars suggest a future of stark contrast, brilliant innovation shadowed by deep challenges, from the digital awakening of the 2030s to the geopolitical shifts of the 2040s and the spiritual quest of the 2050s. Humanity is on the cusp of a great transformation. As astrologers, we must use this knowledge not to predict doom, but to guide society toward a more harmonious path. Thank you. This lecture is a work of fiction based on astrological principles from the 1980s. Wink, wink. Any resemblance to actual events is coincidental. Now let's get into the far horizon, the astrological landscape of 2070 to 2100. This is the real juicy stuff. So, the maps we have used to navigate the human condition are being redrawn, not on parchment, but in the heavens. Our previous discussions have brought us to the cusp of the 21st century, and we will venture further into a realm that to many of you will seem the stuff of science fiction. I assure you the celestial patterns for the period of 2070 to 2100 suggest a future so transformative it will challenge the very definitions of life, society, and human nature itself. Our primary guide for this journey is the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Libra in 2080. This is not merely another 20-year cycle. It is the culmination of a 200-year shift into the air trigon, solidifying the age of Aquarius with an emphasis on balance, justice, and, I dare say, artificial intelligence. Libra scales will be held by silicon hands. The Plutonian rebirth, 2070 to 2085. This period is dominated by Pluto's transit through Pisces. Recall, if you will, Pluto's last transit through the sign in the 18th century, which saw the rise of transcendentalist philosophy and the beginnings of the abolitionist movement. Excuse me. This time, its effect will be even more profound. Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth in the subconscious, and Pisces, the sign of dissolution, unity, and illusion. The biodigital convergence, 2070 to 2075, we will see the erosion of the boundary between biological and digital intelligence. The first legally recognized sentient algorithms will emerge. These are not merely sophisticated tools. Astrologically, with Neptune conjunct Uranus and Aries, they will possess a form of assertive, pioneering consciousness. The great philosophical and legal debate of this era will be, what are the rights of a mind born not of flesh but of code? This will cause societal schisms far greater than any ideological conflict of our century. The neural net and the collective unconscious, 2078. Imagine a world where the telephone network does not carry voices but thoughts and feelings. I predict the development of a neural net, a direct interface between the human brain and a global information system. This is the ultimate expression of Piscean unity, a literal merging of consciousness. While offering unparalleled empathy and understanding, it will also be the most potent tool for control ever devised. Privacy, as we conceive of it, will become an archaic concept. Climate reversal and terraforming, 2080 to 2085. Pluto's destructive regenerative power combined with Saturn's transit through Virgo will force a mastery over the natural world. The great project of this time will not be merely halting climate change, but actively reversing it. I foresee grand-scale geoengineering, machines that scrub the atmosphere, and the deliberate strategic melting of polar ice caps to re-terraform arid continents. It will be an age of playing God with the climate. The Great Conjunction and the Societal Reformation, 2080 to 2095. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Libra of 2080 is the pivot around which this new world turns. It heralds a new social contract. The post-labor economy, 2085. With virtually all physical and administrative labor automated, the central economic question will shift from how do we create jobs to what is the purpose of a human life without labor? A form of universal basic income will be a global standard, not as a welfare state, but as a dividend of a post-scarcity economy. Art, philosophy, and spiritual exploration will become the primary occupations of the masses. The demographic crisis and the redefinition of family, 2090, the long-term trend of declining birth rates in the developed world will reach a critical point. Combined with radical life extension technologies, the proportion of young to old will be inverted. This will lead to two profound developments. First, state-sponsored ectogenesis, the gestation of foetuses in artificial wombs to maintain population levels. Second, the concept of family will atomize further, becoming fluid networks of chosen kin, often spanning biological, digital, and augmented individuals. The first off-world society, 2095. With Pluto moving into Aries, the pioneering aggressive spirit reemerges. The first self-sustaining human colony will be established on Mars, but it will not be a mere scientific outpost. Astrologically, it will develop a unique and fiercely independent culture, one that sees Earth as an antiquated parent. The seeds of a future interplanetary tension will be sown here. On the cusp of a new millennium, 2095 to 2100. As we approach the year 2100, we find a humanity grappling with its own success. The outer planets will begin to align in a configuration not seen since the Renaissance. The consciousness question, the central burning question, will no longer be technological or economic, but ontological. What is consciousness? When a human mind can be uploaded to a network, when an AI can compose a symphony that moves you to tears, when you can share a dream with someone on another continent, what then is the soul? The world will witness a great religious reformation, not based on new prophets, but on the direct experiential evidence of a collective mind. A fragile utopia. The world of 2100 will, from our 1987 perspective, wink wink, look like a utopia. Want, disease, and perhaps even involuntary death will have been largely conquered, but it will be a fragile one built upon a foundation of profound psychological and ethical challenges that we can barely conceive of today. In conclusion, the maps we have drawn today are not certainties, they are possibilities written in starlight. The period from 2070 to 2100 will be the true test of the Aquarian Age, whether our technology will elevate our humanity or simply provide us with more elegant tools for expressing our ancient flaws. The stars impel, they do not compel. The choice of what we become ultimately remains our own. Thank you.